Amroliwala. Last time there was Modi mania. This time it's more about consolidating the rapid progress made in US-India relations as Narendra Modi heads to the White House to meet President Obama. The days when Modi was refused a US visa are long gone. In its place, a friendship between these two leaders that has surprised many but pragmatically makes total sense for trade, for military cooperation, for dealing with China, for what Obama called his pivot to Asia. Well, business will obviously dominate, but tomorrow the Indian leader will address a joint session of Congress. Yesterday, he laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington Cemetery. But this, of course, is not the first time he's met President Obama. He sipped tea with him just last year in India. And he's been to the US 4 times, drawing huge crowds at Madison Square Gardens back in 2014. Well, let's go live to Delhi. Let's speak to Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay, who's written a biography on Narendra Modi. Welcome here to the programme. Tell me, what does Delhi want from a trip like this?
Well, there are two ways of looking at as to what Delhi wants out of it. One is that Mr. Modi wants a huge personal endorsement from the American leadership, which we can carry back home and say that I have been able to bring back a tremendous amount of pride and respect for India, which is going to help him to boost his declining domestic fortunes. As far as the international issues are concerned, there are several things that which Mr. Modi wants. He wants to further strengthen the bilateral relationship with the United States. He wants recognition and various international fora. A membership to the NSG is very important to Mr. Modi's claim of being able to secure clean energy for India. He's also looking for membership into the MTCR, the Missile Technology Control Regime, which is also very important to Mr. Modi. But more important that it is very important for Mr. Modi to come back with very good optics, to come back and tell the people that his personal relationship with President Barack Obama has probably never been as good as it has been this time, that this has really been the icing on the cake of the relationship.
It's very interesting, that last part of the equation that you drew attention to, because you've written that India suffers a kind of reverse colonialism. Tell me a little more about what you mean by that.
What I try to argue is that there is a tendency among Indians that until and unless we go and
Well, we appear to have lost our line to Delhi at right an inappropriate moment there. Apologies for that. So we lose our line to Delhi. Hopefully in the next few minutes we will speak to our guest out of Washington, because Sanjay Puri is from the US-India Political Action Committee. And to get the perspective from there, let's head to Washington, and hopefully Sanjay is in the chair, and there you are. Welcome into the breach. What is Washington hoping to get out of this trip from Narendra Modi?
I think the number one thing is this is President Obama's legacy. As you know, he's at the final 6 months or so of his presidency. The US-India relationship probably is going to be one of the big, hopefully bright spots from a foreign policy, which has gotten a little bogged down in Syria and a few other places. So I think that the legacy is number one, economic and defense ties are number two, and climate change, I think, is number three.
In terms of that personal chemistry, how genuine is it? We saw all the optics that our guest from Delhi was talking about during Republic Day of last year. We remembered the bear hug. Do they really get on that well?
Well, personal chemistry is very important. I think Mr. Modi has taken it upon himself, given the little bit of the past history, to make a real attempt to build a relationship with President Obama, and he keeps, as you know, referring to him as a friend. And President Obama also said, my good friend, Prime Minister Modi. So I think there is a good relationship between them, and I think it's also coinciding with the joint interest that both countries have and both leaders have in making this relationship work.
Trade, obviously, dominates, but there is still incredible frustration in America about just the difficulties of investing in India, despite all the reforms we've seen from Modi. Just give me a sense of how much frustration there is.
Well, keep in mind, it's been years since the US-India civil nuclear agreement was signed, and there's not one American nuclear plant in India yet. So I think that kind of gives you the broad signal. Obviously, from a defense perspective, things have been a lot more rosier because now United States is the largest defense partner for India, which has not been the case in the past. So, but doing business in India is challenging, and I think that's what Mr. Modi, with his frequent visits, and he's meeting with CEOs today, he's going to give that message: make in India, come to India, and making it India a better place. Red carpet, not red tape. But still, challenges do remain, and you still see businesses taking a little cautious approach: trust but verify, as far as India is concerned.
Sanjay, stay there because we're going to bring our guest in Delhi back. Nilanjan, talking there about the challenges. We've been having satellite challenges, but we got the line back to you. You were just explaining this phrase you used, which was that India suffers from a kind of reverse colonialism. I just get you to explain what you mean by that, because we lost you halfway through.
India was colonized for a fairly long period of time, and now there is a certain amount of desire, to be able to get an endorsement from the Western nations, primarily from the United States and the United Kingdom. That till the time the leaders of these two countries do not actually endorse the political leadership, they feel that they have not really been able to secure the prestige which they can come back to the domestic constituency and use to gain votes. Because Mr. Modi would know, just like any other politicians, that foreign relations, or rather, gains made in the foreign policy area do not get votes. So in each of every visit of Mr. Modi, right from the time he became Prime Minister, the basic effort has been that he's come back and told his constituency that he has been able to secure and been able to restore the lost dignity of India. It's a kind of, that just the way that the colonizers occupied our mind space, we will now go out and occupy their mind space, and that is what is going to be extremely gratifying and satisfying to the electorate here, and then they would vote for Mr. Modi. That is the basic argument.
In terms of the practicalities, how much longer do you think Delhi can continue to court influence from the Americans, the Chinese, and yet almost juggle the two without getting into any real alliances with either?
Well, this is actually a huge gamble which Mr. Modi has taken, right from the beginning, that he's tried to strike a balance between various sides, not really getting aligned with anyone or the other. Now, this is a huge challenge which is taken. We have to see that how the script evolves. I look at Mr. Modi primarily not so much from the foreign policy perspective, but basically from the domestic constituency, because the chances of him getting a re-election in 2019, which is just now 3 years down the line, it would all depend on the kind of successes he meets domestically, not what he meets or rather secures internationally.
Back to
so
Washington.
It is very important for
back to
Mr. Modi
Washington
to be able
and
to.
Sanjay, I mean, the hope is of increasing trade from around 120 billion to 500 billion. I mean, how realistic is that, do you think?
Well, as your speaker was talking about, I was thinking that Mr. Modi's foreign policy is also an economic policy. And you talked about trade being 120 billion to 500 billion. India is not China. But Mr. Modi realizes that in order to create jobs, he needs manufacturing. And he needs this Make in India. And where is the jobs going to come from? Where are the investments going to come from? It's going to come from United States of America. You see the investments. When you see the startup that he keeps talking about in India, most of them have been through venture capital firms based in United States. So it's an economic policy that he's pursuing during his foreign visits, trying to tell them India is open for business. Getting to 500 billion is a long way off because there are some intrinsic domestic challenges that they have to solve. They have to get the land bill passed, they have to get the GST, so that it becomes easier for people to figure out what the rules and regulations are across India.
Okay, we're almost out of time, but Sanjay, just in one sentence, how surprised are you at just the speed in which this relationship has developed over the last 4 years?
I'm pretty amazed, because this Prime Minister who came in, I thought he would be more domestic. He's a great at economy, domestic issues, but full credit to him. He's built a very strong leadership. He's built strong relationship, and he's also used the diaspora extremely well. If you see the images that you've shown of filling in stadiums with 20,000, 30,000 people, I think amazing.
Nilanjan, just a final sentence from you as well. He's got an eye, Modi, for the headlines, for the media. I remember in that Republic Day he wore the suit with his own name embroidered down the pinstripe. What are you expecting in this trip?
I would personally look at whether the headline is dominated by the personal chemistry between Mr. Modi and President Obama, or whether it is because of the rapid gains made in the area of Indo-US relations and various other strategic ties of India. The final conclusion could determine that the way in which Mr. Modi is steering his relationship with the United States.